This is snow-covered Detweiler Park on the banks of the Illinois River in Peoria. But this is not just any old Saturday in the park. We're here for the running of the Illinois High School Association Boys and Girls Cross Country State Championships. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Stalker. I'm glad you could join us for the next hour as we bring you highlights of the 4 state championship races here at chilly Detweiler Park. Once again joining us is analyst Lee Halberg. And Lee, last year we were out here in sport coats and ties talking about temperatures in the 70s. Right now we estimate the temperature to be about 20, and obviously a very frozen surface here in Peoria.
Well, we've got the exact opposite conditions that we had a year ago, and I think it's going to be a factor today.
In fact, in the recollections of some, this is the first time that there has been snow on the course since back in 1967 when it was held at Urbana Country Club some 24 years ago. So obviously you have to feel the conditions will definitely be a factor, though we may not know till after the first race.
It has been cold here in past years, but it's not been this cold with the snow and ice that we've got on the course.
Our first race of the day is the state championship for Class A boys, and in the battle for the team championship, the Spartans of St. Joseph Ogden have run a strong season with very convincing wins in the regionals and sectionals.
I would have to say that were conditions ideal, St. Joe Ogden would be the clear favorite. In fact, they may run away with it anyway. I would say it's going to be the race for second and third is up for grabs.
St. Joseph has also won a meet here at Detweiler earlier this year. Liberty's ranked number 2. They have beaten the defending state champs in Fremont, and they've got the Obert gang, 4 Oberts in Jeff, John, Todd, and Randy.
Well, they've been led by Jeff Obert, a real strong contender for the title today. I would have to say, team-wise, you've got to take a look at Elmwood Park, Fremont. Canelan did beat Elmwood Park in the sectional. You've got Normal U High also in there, and possibly Sandwich, and maybe the sleeper Breeze Mater Dei.
Now in the individual battle, Justin Weiss of Lyle was second last year, but finished 4th at the Oregon sectional last week. He still may be showing effects of a leg injury he suffered in the track season.
I agree. This is a tough one to call also. I think Obert is going to be right up front. You know, we returned 16 of the top 20 from last year's 90 state meets, so it's up for grabs as well.
But if one runner may have an edge because of the competition, it might be Steve Faley of Wheaton St. Francis. He regularly competes against AA competition, Lee. In fact, he won a AA meet, the DuPage County meet, and also in another meet, he finished only 10 seconds behind AA favorite Scott Lidskin.
He's my favorite today for all those reasons that you've just mentioned.
All right, let's go now to the starting line for the state championship for boys. And there is the start for the boys' Class A state championships. The boys run 3 miles here at Detweiler Park, approximately 3 laps around the circuit. And one thing right off the bat, you see the different strategies in heading for the very first turn where you can really sort things out very quickly. Some head all the way, hug the snow fence there along the right side of the screen. Others stay off wide of the left.
I used to have a saying that every day is a good day to run, Tom, but today is the kind of day that would certainly challenge that theory. I would say that, as I did at the top of the telecast, these young men and women today are going to have to beat the course as well as the opponent. And I think where it's real treacherous, they're going to have to run cautiously.
In the team championship, each team has 7 runners. The first 5 finishers, you take their places and add them up. And it's the low score that wins in cross country.
Tom, the Peoria management has done a marvelous job of trying to do everything they can to get this course ready. They've blown snow, and with the warm-up running that was done yesterday, the course is flattened out and leveled out, even though it is frozen in places. I'm sure most of these runners have traded flats for spikes today.
From Breeze Mater Dei, that is Colby Linneman, a senior, and Dave Venhouse, a senior, running 1-2. While running 3rd right now is Jeff Obert, the leader of the Obert gang of Liberty.
As we approach the half-mile mark, I see 2 young men from Liberty going out real strong.
Right now we're at 154, 155 into the 3-mile boys Class A championships.
Probably the best strategy today for a young man or a young lady that hopes to run for the state championship is to get out as best they can and run right on that chalk line that would have been there had we not had the snow. It probably looks like it's the best path to run.
Early in the team battle, I see 3 Liberty runners already. Along with Obert, you've got Brad Nyson and Rob Wellman also up in the first 10.
And St. Joe Ogden has positioned well at the first half mile. Came through at about 2:25 at the half mile.
And right now, running about 7th or 8th is Steve Faley of Wheaton St. Francis. He has decided to go ahead and stay in the pack and not try to burn off the pack early, and I think conditions may have something to do with that.
I think he's doing the wise thing. He's going to try to control the race from a 10-yard distance and wait and see what the leaders up front do.
After the turn, it is Jeff Obert, followed by Brad Kaufman of Fremont running second. Right now running third is Chris Wolf of Maple Park Mainland. And also running up there is one of the dark horses, and is Barry Pearman of Georgetown Rich Farm.
I've talked to a number of coaches this season who have said they felt Pearman could be the guy to beat today. They have seen him run well at times, and there are other times he wasn't quite as strong. They said watch for him.
Right now we're at 4:22, 4:23 into the race, and Jeff Obert is trying to put some distance between himself and the rest of the pack.
It certainly is. As we around some of these 90-degree turns, it's going to be interesting to see how it affects the tempo of the race.
And Brad Kaufman has split away from the pack, and he is now going to go ahead and go after Obert.
It looks like he has closed the gap.
And leading the pack is Barry Pearman. And now moving up for St. Joseph Ogden is Rick Walden. He has been their leader throughout the year.
They have had a great team split.
They're approaching the mile, 4:54, 4:55. Under 5 minutes for the mile on a cold day like this.
They're doing a fine job. They're doing about as well as anyone could have expected.
One thing that may have to be going through Obert's mind is he's trying to pull himself away, but I know he has to hear the footsteps right behind him, Brad Kaufman.
I'm sure they can help with that there, Tom, as they seem to open up on a 15-yard lead over that second group.
And I see 5 St. Joe Ogden runners already within the first 20.
I do too, and if they can hold that position, they're in a great position to go on and win this state title.
Once again, it is Jeff Obert, the senior from Liberty, running first, and Brad Kaufman of Fremont. Now right here they will make a turn and head into the North Loop. And here is where last year in every race we saw the individual championship determined.
I think we will today as well. It'll be interesting to see which young man, Kaufman or Obert, want to take charge. At this point, St. Joe Ogden is just blitzing the field.
Now as they run on the North Loop, we can see that Brad Kaufman has taken over the lead, with Obert moving back into second. And that pack is starting to stretch out just a little thinner now, as things do get sorted out here on the North Loop, as they seem to happen every year. And now we pick them up as they come off the North Loop, as indeed you see the leader is Brad Kaufman of Fremont, with Jeff Obert right now about 10 yards behind in second, and Barry Pearman of Georgetown Rich Farm running third. Rick Walden of St. Joseph Ogden is in fourth. But it is still anybody's race right now, as we are 8 minutes and 21 seconds into the boys Class A 3-mile cross-country championships. But here is where I tend to think that Kaufman might be drawing on the experience. Winning the 3,200-meter run last spring might definitely be a factor for him.
Well, and I know that his win last Saturday had to help him, I'm sure, motivationally, psychologically. He looks very comfortable. It's way too early to call, as you see Pearman starting to move up on Obert for second place.
At this point now, about 400 meters to go at 13:50 into the boys Class A finals. Brad Kaufman of Fremont will receive the accolades from fans lining both sides here of the home stretch at Detweiler Park.
He looks great, he looks strong. He's just got to concentrate on his form and rhythm, not try to overextend himself.
And right now it is Obert and Pearman battling for second. And back and forth, Rick Walden of St. Joseph Ogden, who might give them a very strong start in this first score, I should say, in the team battle.
The real race now is for second and third between Obert and Pearman.
Down the stretch comes Brad Kaufman from Fremont. The boys' 3,200-meter track championship at O'Brien Stadium in Charleston. We saw here on Sports Channel last May, and here he comes winning the
Take a look. The race for second has brought both those young men back towards Kaufman.
Obert
may not be over.
Obert one last try coming uphill, but he won't have time. We're at 15 minutes, 15:01, 15:02. Obert at 15:04 second. Pearman coming in third. at 15:08. And here comes now for St. Joseph Ogden. That is Brian, and make that Allen. That is Brian Allen. I thought it was Walden. Here comes St. Joe's second runner, number 193. That is Melvin Goodman. Here comes St. Joe's third, fourth, and fifth. There is Walden. He has fallen back.
And here are the top 5 finishers for the boys in Class A. 5th place was Jason Zirin, a junior from Carmi-White County, who improved his 10th place finish of a year ago. In 4th place was Brian Allen of St. Joe Ogden, who was 51st a year ago. Barry Pierman was 3rd, the junior from Georgetown Ridge Farm, who was 18th a year ago. Jeff Obert improves his finish from 6th a year ago to 2nd place. He's a senior from Liberty. And the winner was Brad Kaufman, the senior from Fremont, who finished 11th last year.
I thought for sure last year that I had a shot at winning, and I finished 11th. I was pretty disappointed. I just made it a goal that I was going to go for it this year. Well, I love the conditions, you know, like rain and snow and mud and everything like that. I just have always ran pretty good in that.
What does it feel to work so hard for something and actually have it come true?
It's just kind of rewarding. I mean, if it's a goal, you know, you just I don't know, you just go out and work hard. I guess it really just hasn't hit me yet.
Here are the top 5 in the team standings for boys Class A. Breeze Modern Day, 5th a year ago, finishes 5th for the 2nd consecutive year with 195 points. Just 2 ahead of them, University High of Normal, while Liberty, 6th a year ago, finishes in 3rd with 114 points. And even 100 points for 2nd place Maple Park Canelan, who was 7th last year. And St. Joe Ogden, a whopping 54-point margin, only 46 points, the lowest winning point total ever in boys Class A final history. And we talked with their head coach, Jim Ackland.
I think they saw what it took to get where they needed to be, and they dedicated themselves in the off-season to a state championship. There was just no doubt in their mind that was going to be their ultimate goal.
And you had not 5 but 6 runners become all-staters, and yet you said you had a vision before the season.
The very first day of practice, I told them that we could have as many as 7 all-staters or as few as 0 or anything in between. It just depended on how badly they wanted it. So it really didn't surprise me. It was nice to see, but it really didn't surprise me.
Now we're getting ready for the running of the girls' Class A championships. The girls run 2.1 miles. Behind us, you see, once again, we've got the Urban Assault Vehicle back. We want to thank the 169th Tactical Air Support Squadron and our drivers, Sergeant Greg Dickerson and Staff Sergeant Bob Stevenson, for escorting us around the course. This is how we get the coverage of the lead runners there out in front. Now here in the girls' Class A, the team battle absolutely wide open. Urbana University was ranked number 1, but all of a sudden they stumbled, finishing 3rd at the Muhammad Seymour sectional last week.
I see 7 teams. I think it's wide open, and I talked with the coach at Urbana U High earlier this week, Bonnie Byers-Moxley. She felt that maybe that loss last Saturday was a wake-up call.
Another team that could be a factor, the defending champ, St. Joseph Ogden. They were sort of written off at the start of the season because they lost quite a bit of their title team of last year, but they have come on very strong of late.
They'll be a factor. Of course, Hillsborough, 2nd a year ago, has everybody returning. I think we'll see them up front, too.
Now, in terms of the individuals, Brittany Johnson has sort of run, you want to say all alone, but basically she has. She's won by margins of well over a minute down there in southwestern Illinois out of Lebanon, and yet she has not gone against a lot of the other competition, but she, I think, still has to be the favorite.
She's my favorite today. I see her along with another 6 or 7 girls that we should see battle up front, but I've got to go with Brittany Johnson as a favorite.
Now, Treasure Schultz, a junior out of Gardner, South Wilmington, won the Muhammad Seymour sectional, beating some strong competition, including Karen Block and Amy Kuipers, 2 other girls who could be among the favorites, so maybe she might also be up there.
I agree. I've watched Heather Hollis from Porter run all season long. She's been beaten once, and she's a real tough competitor. I think we'll see her up near the front.
The temperatures have skyrocketed now up to about 25 degrees. We did see some of the runners slip in the last race, the boys' Class A. And what could very well happen, though, should it warm up above freezing, the course could get muddy.
Well, it will, and I hope that it doesn't become a factor deciding the outcome, but the runners are going to have to be cautious on the turns.
Meanwhile, this is anything but Operation Desert Storm here at Detweiler Park. It's time to load them up, Lee. Here we go. And they're away from the starting line for the girls' Class A state finals again. 2.1 miles. The top Class A girls' time was set last year by the champion Becky Garrett of Sparta, who ran the course in 11:47. The all-time girls' best here at Detweiler, the great Dana Marabali of Wheeling, four-time champion. In 1987, she covered the course in 11:16. I don't think course conditions will allow for.
Talked about the team title earlier.
Look at that right now, Lee. Take a look at that. This definite division in terms of groups going to one side or the other.
I think there are a large number of young ladies in this race who are concerned about being able to run this first turn unobstructed. They're staying way out to the right or the viewer's left.
In fact, you see a couple of groups almost running in a straight line almost.
Well, that's what you'd want to do, ideally. We mentioned at the outset that we felt Urbana, U-High, and Hillsboro were two of the top teams. Several coaches felt it was a 4 or a 5 team race. I think it may be as many as 7 teams that'll battle for a trophy.
We're just now a minute and 15 seconds into the girls' Class A. And as they come to make the first turn, we will pick up the early leaders. Right now, that looks to be Chrissy Varnas of Dunlap. And also moving up very quickly is the girl from Lebanon, Brittany Johnson. She's right there. In fact, she has now just taken the lead.
She ran the same type of race last year. She led through the first half mile. She's doing exactly the same thing. She's out in front.
But usually what happens to youngsters who go out so quickly in this race, they fade badly. She did not fade badly last year, as again, she had a very good finish a year ago, finishing third. Right now also moving up from Petersburg, Porta, that is Heather Hollis, a senior. And Treasure Schultz is also right there among the top 3. So right off the bat, the girls, the leaders have already distinguished themselves early in this race as we get close to the first half mile here in the girls' Class A championships. We're now along the backstretch here, which is along the highway bordering Detweiler Park. And again, conditions right now, temperatures in the mid-20s, and it is indeed a good race right now in this individual battle for the girls' A title. As we approach the mile, we're at 5:29.
Brittany Johnson has taken the lead.
You can hear them call out the splits, as at the mile they're at 5:40. 5:40 at the mile. Again, they run 2.1 miles.
Tom, I'm impressed with the race these young ladies are on. The pace is very, very good, very fast on a course that's obviously not in the best of shape.
Brittany Johnson, Heather Hollis. Heather Hollis was 10th last year. She is a senior. She won the Kewanee sectional by 9 seconds over Jessica Harlow of Knoxville. And she had a 52nd victory in the Liberty Regional. Also among her victories, she won the Jacksonville Invitation, defeating April Todd of Auburn by 15 seconds. Those two have moved away, with Treasure Schultz of Gardner, South Wilmington, back in third, and she's trying to reestablish contact with the two girls up front.
I would say they're not out of contact with the two leaders.
Now, of course, right here, they will head into the North Loop, and already we can see conditions getting a little muddy right there as they make the turn. Treasure Schultz in third.
Jessica Harlow, I believe, from Knoxville in fourth.
And running in fifth, April Todd of Auburn. We'll see if we can get a handle on the team battle, but right now, we have not seen any teams really packing up.
No, it's still pretty spread out at this point.
This could be one of the closest finishes in girls' Class A. Of course, this is just the 4th year that they have run the girls' races in the Classes A and AA. This may be one of those separated by a point or two.
I would imagine we'll see something very similar to last year. It was that way last year for several spots among the top 6 or 7 places.
And now, as we see, they come off the North Loop. About the same margin right now of a lead for Brittany Johnson of Lebanon over Heather Hollis of Petersburg, Porta.
And Treasure Schultz back in third. But they have fallen a little farther back, Lee.
You know, Tom, it's been my opinion over the years that the race for the individual state championship takes place out there in that what we call the North Loop. And I think these two girls position themselves just after the mile point to be able to really try to break it open out there. They obviously did, but I think what happens is a young man or a young lady out there makes a decision. That decision being whether or not they're going to run for the title or be happy with something less than it.
And this is a very crucial part of the race right now for the girl running second, Heather Hollis, as we are 10 minutes and 11 seconds into the race.
We're about a quarter of a mile from the finish line.
This is where it may be do or die for Heather Hollis, because she's got to make up that gap now if she hopes to outsprint Brittany Johnson in the home stretch.
They both look strong or as tired, if you will, as each other. It's a little too early to make that final surge, but they both look capable.
Also, I see farther back that Treasure Schultz is leading the pack for third, but I also see two Winnebago runners. That may be a factor in the team race. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, how that unfolds. As we saw, the team battle was way too close to call as they went into the North Loop. Now, the runners start heading up an incline towards the finish line as we approach 11 minutes. Right there, 11 minutes here in the girls' Class A. Again, last year, Becky Garrett won this race in 11 minutes and 47 seconds.
Brittany Johnson really starting to drive the arms now a little more aggressively. She heads up this final 155 meters.
Brittany Johnson winning the Chester Sectional, the Lebanon Regional. She also won invitationals at Tuscola, Trenton Westland, and also the Granite City Invitational, a 45-second victory there in a meet that involves some double-A competition.
That's a very fine meet early season, and the champion that comes out of that meet is a very fine athlete.
It's looking almost wire to wire for Brittany Johnson, the senior from Lebanon, who was third last year.
Well, it may not be over. You see Brittany Johnson seeming to fade just a little bit. Heather Hollis is still battling, and now third place.
Treasure Schultz is starting to come up very strong.
Yes, indeed. It is going to go down to the wire, and Heather Hollis now making a move.
Heather Hollis might catch her, and there she passes by Brittany Johnson. It is Heather Hollis of Petersburg Porta, and Brittany Johnson has just run out of steam. Now for Winnebago coming up strong, Cheyenne Schnorr battling Treasure Schultz. Johnson second, Schultz is third, Schnorr is fourth, 12-16 unofficially. Here are the top five individuals for girls in Class A, with Jenny Cole of Herscher finishing in fifth. She was 17th last year, while fourth place went to Winnebago's Cheyenne Schnorr. Treasure Schultz, fourth a year ago, finishes in third this year, while Brittany Johnson also improved one position from a year ago. She finished second, the senior from Lebanon. And the winner, 10th a year ago, Heather Hollis, the senior from Petersburg Porta.
I didn't run the way I wanted to run. I wanted to go out, and at the top of the hill I wanted to put on a surge and hopefully gain 5 seconds by the mile and 10 seconds entering the triangle, 15 seconds coming out, because I knew coming up the hill I'd have to have a kick because I knew Treasure Schultz had a kick.
But also he looked out in front and there was Brittany, and she seemed to be so near yet so far.
Right. I just, through the triangle I kept thinking, well, just try to keep pushing yourself, lift up your knees, you know, you still have a shot. And then coming out, I didn't think I could feel my legs. So coming up the hill, that's when I guess I got that adrenaline going, and I saw her and I thought, well, I could do it. So I put on a kick.
Did anything go through your mind when you saw her go down?
When I passed her? Just finishing as fast as I could. Well, I trained to try to win it. That's what my goal was since the end of that meet. Last year, my junior year, I wanted to win it because I didn't finish as well as I thought I should have last year.
And here are the top five teams in girls Class A, with Seneca finishing in fifth place with 163 points, just 2 points behind Timothy Christian of Elmhurst, and then just 2 points ahead of them, University High of Urbana with 159, and then Hillsborough, who finishes second for the second consecutive year with 158 points. A very close pack in the battle for second, while Herscher, fifth a year ago, takes home the team title with 120 points, and we talked with their head coach, Scott Stevens.
When, at this point in the season, did you realize you had a team that maybe had that little something extra special?
Well, we ran here 3 weeks ago in a Peoria Heights Invitational. And up to that point, I really wasn't sure. But on that day, Jamie Gaddis ran a great race, Jonah Deno ran a great race. And I mention these girls because the top 3, I knew what they could do. But it was a matter we had to get a 4, 5, and a 6, and 7, whatever. And at one point in the season at Lyle, I wasn't sure if we could make it to state. We ran a meet, we went 1, 2, 3 out of 100 girls, and we got 4th place as the team. And I took the girls aside, and I didn't yell at them too much, but I said, if you want a medal, these 3 girls are going to get a medal at state. If you 4 want a medal, you're going to have to do something. And they did.
More coming your way on Sports Channel as we bring you the finals in girls AA.
And now we're getting set for the running of the girls' AA state finals, where here it looks like once again, as it was last year and the year before, the story is one word: Palatine.
Oh, they've got a lock on this title. I don't think anybody can beat them. They'd have to beat themselves.
Well, Palatine, under first-year coach Steve Currens, has finished in the top 10 6 times the last 8 years. This year, they have not scored more than 32 points in a major invitational meet. In fact, they scored 24 points in winning the sectional, beating teams like 2nd-ranked Libertyville, 4th-ranked Hershey, and 11th-ranked Barrington. A very strong showing.
Not only are they unbeaten, but their team split from number 1 through 5 is as good as anybody could ever hope for.
2nd-ranked Libertyville might be the best of the rest, with a strong duo of Kelly Carl and Erica Chung. The question with them might be their depth.
Well, I agree. I see the race being actually for 2nd and 3rd. You've got Naperville North, you've got Arlington Heights Hershey, and Schaumburg. All should be factors in this meet.
Now for the girls' individual battle. Looked like Amy Siegel of Wheeling was going to continue in the fine tradition of Dana Mirabali. She was cruising to an undefeated season until she ran into Stephanie Goodrich in the sectionals last week.
I suspect that, we've got 13 of the top 20 again in this meet returning. I think that probably is up for grabs, but I'd have to go with Goodrich and Siegel as well.
Of course, that might have been a wake-up call for Siegel as well. She was the 3,200-meter champ last May at Charleston, also was 2nd in the 1,600 meters. Also, factors could be Erica Chesney of Downers Grove North. She really had controlled the West Suburban region throughout the season.
Well, her schedule favors her as well. She's run well all season, and I'm certain we'll see her up front.
And I think also either Kelly Carl or Erica Chung Libertyville might also be up there. But it may be very similar to the A race we saw in girls, where there's 7, 8 girls all equally qualified and may have an early path.
It's going to be interesting to see what coaches and teams choose to do. If they think they've got a legitimate shot at catching or running with Palatine, they may pack up and sacrifice an individual performance among some of those team runners.
They're ready at the starting line. Let's go. And they are away from the starting line for the girls' AA State Cross Country Championships. Once again, just a brief reminder in determining the team champion. The teams that are represented here have 7 runners entered. You take the finish of the first 5, take their place finishes, add them up, and it's the low score that wins. A perfect score, which has never been done in the state meet, would be 15 points. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Again, the girls running 2.1 miles here on snow-covered Detweiler Park. And in talking to some of the folks around here, Lee, in their recollection, this is the first time that there has been actually snow on the running of the course, on the course itself. Back in '67, there was scattered snow, but not the prevalent snow cover we have here today in Peoria. Unlike the girls A, the girls AA staying pretty much in one large pack as they come right at us here at the north end of Detweiler Park.
It looks like everybody's following the leaders, so to speak, and they're staying to the right of this course line down here, which is the wisest thing to do.
Early, I do see Kelly Carl of Libertyville up towards the front. But right now, it looks like the early leader from Moline.
Looks like Krista Lester, Tom, from Moline, the leader through this first 500 yards.
Right now, she has the lead. Amy Siegel of Wheeling has already moved up to the front of the pack.
And she right now is running second or third. In fact, she is right now in second. She is wearing yellow over blue. The leader from Moline is Krista Lester, a senior. As we take him down the backstretch here along the highway, we see that Amy Siegel has established herself as I'm the one to catch right now.
You notice the pace starting to quicken. As we turned the corner at the 3/4 mile mark, looked for the team race to start to develop, and I did see 4 from Palatine in the top 15.
Jenny Marine running right behind Amy Siegel of Whiting. We are approaching the 1 mile mark. Right now we're at 5:30, and they called out the splits. We'll catch them at the mile. It is 5:36 at the mile. And of course, not only do you have the thawing of the course, but also obviously our lead vehicle, plus 2 previous races, hundreds of feet around this course, helping to make conditions a little more cautious out there. It is Jenny Marine, the junior from Naperville North, running right alongside and pressing Amy Siegel every step of the way. Right now running in third is Stephanie Goodrich.
They've opened up about an 8 to 10 yard lead on the rest of the field. They're going to be able to run unobstructed into this north loop.
Kim Malmquist of Naperville North has now moved just ahead of Goodrich into third.
Yes, it looks like Naperville North is running well as I look back down through the field of runners.
And I see behind them a solid Palatine pack.
Yes.
There you see Siegel and Marine. Here comes Malmquist, Goodrich, and Lester, followed by Krista Parker of Metamora. And here comes the Palatine pack. I see 4 runners go through there in one tight pack. We're looking for their 5th. As we note, Lee, as they come out of the North Loop, how very muddy that area has become. As now you see him emerge, and now coming up and tightening up the pack is Erica Chesney from Downers Grove North.
She looks good. She made a commitment in that North Loop to close the gap on these 2 young ladies, and she is right there with 600 yards to go.
Erica Chesney, the winner of the York Sectional, beating Malmquist by 12 seconds, and also beat Malmquist by 14 seconds at the Wheaton North Regional. She is the West Suburban Silver Conference champion. We're at 9:45 into the girls AA, and it is right now a 3-girl race with Siegel, Chesney, and Marine.
All 3 look very strong, very capable of winning this. It may again go down to the wire just as the previous race.
Again now, unlike the boys, which would have 1 more loop around Detweiler Park, they're getting ready now to head down the home stretch. And this is where the strategy is really going to come into play. Who's going to make the first move?
Got about a 1/4 of a mile to go. It's still a little early. I think I would wait. I try to control the race from behind. And Erica Chesney may be doing just that.
She made up a lot of distance there in that North Loop, and for her sake, she hopes that she didn't spend too much making that move.
Well, Tom, the pace through the first mile was just fine, and it probably carried Erica very comfortably through that first 1.25 miles.
10:52 right now is the time. It is Amy Siegel trying to pull away from Marine and Chesney. And coming up from the rear, that looks to be Crystal Fabricki of Joliet West. But it's Siegel. Second at the Niles West Sectional last week. She won the Buffalo Grove Regional. She is the Mid-Suburban League champion. She beat Chesney by 2 seconds at the Wheeling Invitational.
The difference is not going to be much greater, if that, today.
Here they come down the stretch. Siegel and Erica Chesney right now.
Great race, a classic race.
It is a duel. They've got about 100 yards to go. It is Siegel. Chesney staying right with her. Siegel.
She's got to maintain her form.
She falls down. And it's Erica Chesney Erica Chesney will come across at 12:05. Siegel may not get second. She barely does get second. Coming in third is Krista Fabricki. Fourth is Marine. Fifth is Malmquist. And here comes the Palatine bunch. 12:06 unofficially, the winning time. 4 Palatine finishers are in already under 12:30. The question is, Lee, where is their fifth? And here are the top 5 finishers in girls AA, with the freshman Kim Malmquist of Naperville North finishing in 5th, and her teammate junior Jenny Marine finishing in 4th. The third place finisher Krista Fabricki of Joliet West at 12 minutes 11 seconds. Amy Siegel second for the second consecutive year, the senior from Wheeling, finishing with a time of 12:10. And Erica Chesney, who was 10th a year ago, is the girls AA champion. The senior from Downers Grove North ran 12:06.
Well, Erica, this is something obviously every runner hopes to be the state champion, but tell us what was going through your mind those instants, those last few yards, 200 yards, when you realized this could happen.
I didn't really believe it at first. I was kind of in shock. It didn't really sink in until after I got out of the chute, and I was like, this really happened. And we were side by side when she fell. Like, I saw her fall, and it kind of worried me because I thought, oh my gosh, that could have happened to me.
And yet you were so near, yet so far to the chute.
We weren't that far from the chute, and that straightaway at the end, it took a long time. So it felt like every step was lasting forever.
Did you ever really imagine yourself, maybe last night, as state champion?
No, I was hoping for second. Like, I wasn't even thinking about getting first because I thought at the end of the race, with Amy's kick, she would just go.
Here are the top 5 teams, and you'll notice we had a tie. Finishing in 5th place was Naperville North with a total of 174 points, but a tie for 3rd between the Tigers of Wheaton Central and Libertyville, who was 2nd last year, both finishing with 139 points. Just 7 ahead, the Saxons of Schaumburg, improving from 14th a year ago. But once again, for the 3rd consecutive year, it's the Pirates of Palatine winning it with 78 points, and we talked with their first-year head coach, Steve Kearns.
You have a group of some very mentally tough young ladies, including Erin Reddig, who lost her shoe at the 1-mile mark and finished the race on those kind of conditions with just one shoe.
That was incredible. I've had other athletes do that before, and it is remarkable what they can do. I didn't even know she lost it. I was cheering her on in the race, and I didn't even know until after she'd come out of the chute that she lost her shoe. And in fact, they kept her in the tent for a while, so I was a little panicky there as to what the actual finish place she'd got. She had a nice spike wound on her Achilles heel, so she'll be all right from it. But it was a great tribute to her, and I think her teammates really helped her along there because they've been so used to running together all these years. We've emphasized the teamwork, and they pulled her along.
Well, that's what I mean. They call this an individual sport, but the first thing that went through Erin's mind apparently was my teammates. I can't let my teammates down.
I think it's very true. It's a big emphasis of our program, and I think they've helped each other train. I think that's an important thing. They help each other. We have some practice at 6 in the morning, a lot in the summer. We swim at 6 in the morning. We weight lift after practice, and having each other there to help out. Even our JV runners, are very supportive. Those conditions, having a lot of numbers, is a very definite advantage.
And right around the corner, our last race of the day, the battle for the boys Class AA State Championship. This copyrighted broadcast is presented for the entertainment and non-commercial use of our audience. Any reproduction or other use of this program without the written consent of Sports Channel is strictly prohibited. Now we're getting ready for the culmination, the final race of today here at Detweiler Park, the boys AA. And over the years, it's been synonymous with the Dukes of York. Out of 29 years, the last 29 years, they have 23 top 3 finishes. This year, though, it looked like York was going to have a difficult time defending their championship. They're 2-time defending champs. And, in fact, at one time, Joe Newton was worried about if he'd even have a team that would qualify to come down here.
They got off to a slow start. He told me yesterday that he felt the turning point was the dual meet they had with Oak Park, and that turned the season around for them.
Meanwhile, while York was struggling early, the Saints of St. Charles ranked at the top from late September on. The only Illinois team they have lost to this year was Moline, and that was in the York sectional. So St. Charles says, hey, we're still ranked number 1. Then all of a sudden, what happens at the York sectional? York puts it all together and wins it, edging St. Charles.
Well, that's no surprise to me. there's no better coach than Joe Newton at this time of year historically. I think he would probably want us to believe that there are 5 teams that have a shot to win today, and there may be. I think you've got Moline, Schaumburg, you've got York, of course, you've got Glenbrook South and St. Charles, but it would be tough to bet against York with their great tradition in this meet.
You mentioned Schaumburg. They're the only team other than York to have won a state title in the 80s. Traditional strong finishers here at the state. In fact, they have 7 top 5 finishes in the decade of the 80s.
I have a great deal of respect for them. They, as you say, they have a history of running well in this meet, and I would imagine they're going to be right up front too.
And Moline also. They competed a lot in Chicago this year to work up to the competition.
They've got 3 strong young men up front. They've interchanged throughout the season. It'll be interesting to see if somebody outside that suburban area can run with them.
Now individually here in boys AA, last year it was Vadim Nemad who just ran away from the pack and won it going away. This year, no real clear-cut favor. It appears that 2 might be just a little head and shoulders above everybody else, and those being, of course, John Weigel of Metamora and Scott Lidskin of Glenbrook South. Metamora's John Weigel beat Lidskin by 2 seconds here at Detweiler at the Peoria Invitational this year.
I've got to go with Weigel. You know, he's been beaten once, and that probably was a result of a heat problem he had earlier in the season. He's probably stayed at home, didn't travel down here, stayed in his own bed, slept in his own bed last night, has run this course probably more often than anybody else, and I would favor him today.
Although Lidskin is coming off a win in a sectional at Niles West over some very strong competition, winning over a couple of Libertyville, Pat Joyce of Stevenson. So, you know, he ran into some very strong competition all season long.
Oh, he has, and I think we can't forget Maha Martinez from Hoffman Estates as well.
Maha, of course, and Tony Finley of St. Charles. So it could be anybody's race. Let's go now to the starting line for the boys' AA state finals. And they're off, the final race of the day, the boys' AA finals. As temperatures now have warmed perhaps into the mid-30s. But as you can see, a blanket of snow continues to cover quite a bit of the interior portion here at Detweiler Park. The boys, 3 miles around Detweiler Park, the final race of the day. And at this point now, Lee, this is where, of course, you really want to establish your pack, your unit, your 7 runners, and say, all right, guys, you have a plan at the very start. That every good team should have a plan.
You know, I noticed as I watched the start there, it looked like the entire western half of that starting line moved immediately to the right.
And remember last year, though, Joe Newton said the strategy for York was count 1,001
yes,
and go out to the left, which would be to our right.
They were near the center of the starting line. They were not going to do it this year, he told me, as of yesterday. The young man out front looks like Steve Watson from Heron. I saw him run last Saturday, and he did the exact same thing in the Springfield Lanphier sectional.
Indeed, we take a look, and the leader is Steve Watson from Heron. And he goes out very early, and right now, leading the rest in second place is John Henson of O'Fallon. But this is really the first race of the day, Lee, where somebody has shot out real early to a big lead.
Well, he probably wanted to establish as good a running position as he could, and obviously you're going to if you're out front by yourself. But he took it out last Saturday, led from wire to wire in the Springfield Lanphier sectional, and I know he's somewhat of an unknown. He did not run well in this meet last year, but I suspected he might come into this meet and run very competitively.
Plus here, he can choose his path going around this big tree here, which has obviously gotten very muddy.
It's about 2:10 at the half mile, and that path that you just mentioned is in some places not good at this point.
We are approaching the first mile, first of 3 miles here in the boys AA. Right now we're at 4:22. And the mile.
Tom, the course is starting to show the effects of 3 races and the thawing, and I tell you, it's real sloppy and slow going in certain places.
440.
We're now at 4:43, 4:44, 4:45. By 4:43 for George Patrilak of Lincoln Way, a junior. John Weigel of Metamora is leading the other pack.
Looks like Patrolak's got about a 7-yard lead on that group.
We're getting close now to where they head up into the North Loop. As Patrolak of Lincoln Way right now with the lead. And then it is Weigel of Metamora, along with Chris Brown of Libertyville, Scott Lidskin of Glenbrook South, as Patrolak of Lincoln Way goes to the North Loop. Then it is Weigel, followed by Lidskin, Brown, Maha, Martinez. And we'll see now, Leah, whether we can pick up any indication as to the team battle.
It looks like York is in excellent position as they go into this North Loop, and I would imagine they're going to be in better position when they come out.
I see Schaumburg's pack now coming through at this time. They went through with about 4 runners in one group. As they're running on the back loop, it looked like our leader, George Patrolak of Lincoln Way, was maintaining his lead. A sizable lead at that, but now it looks like the pack is beginning to catch up as they get ready to come out of the North Loop. And watch out, we saw some runners take a spill as they made the first turn into the loop. It is extremely muddy in that area coming out of the loop. Here they come out, and now it is John Weigel of Metamora, Scott Lidskin, Maha Martinez, George Patrolak, and Chris Brown, all in the pack. One other runner that I cannot see the number right at the time, and we'll get him here in a moment, Pat Joyce of Stevenson.
Yes.
Boy, talk about all the favorites in one group.
What a great race developed. I tell you, the best footing at Detweiler Park right now is in that what we call North Loop, and these guys broke it open as a group. I'm sure they were able to run much better out there than they can right now. A lot of mud on this course.
But now Patrolak is beginning to fade. He had the lead, a sizable lead going into the loop, and now Weigel is pulling the pack away, and it is right behind him, Maha Martinez, Scott Lidskin, Pat Joyce, and Chris Brown. Again, earlier this year here at Detweiler in the Peoria Invitational, Weigel edged Lidskin by 2 seconds. So this is the return engagement for those two here with all the marbles at stake in the state finals. And now it has become 4 runners in Weigel, Lidskin, Joyce, and Brown.
We've passed the 2.25 mile mark.
We are at 11:20 right now. In the final mile now of the boys AA state finals.
The tempo starts to quicken.
They will not go into that North Loop. They will just loop right around and come back in and make the turn back to the south and the finish line. Weigel says it's okay. I'll go ahead and set the pace. Sometimes you'd rather see a runner stay behind, let somebody else do it. But Weigel says this is as good a home course as I have.
He's no stranger to that role or that position, and I think he looks like he's in control, yet so do the other 3. Certainly at this point, you don't want to make a move too soon. We got a ways to go. We're approaching the 2.5 mile mark, but it's still too early to make that final run to the finish.
And then it becomes sort of like the gamblers. Who's going to show the card first? Who's going to make the break first?
You bet. We've seen it in one of the women's races earlier today where that card was shown a little early.
Again, the 4 are pulling away. Weigel's now beginning to press the paces. We're 12:32 now into the race.
Well, both Weigel and Lidskin definitely look the best as far as their form right now.
And again, the conditions continue to deteriorate. As they go right through, try to cut as much distance off the turns as they can. They're not afraid of the mud there.
Well,
they go right through it.
They're running with a certain degree of caution, obviously, at that point. And they're going to try. This race is going to be decided on the final straightaway.
If I had to say one look better than the other right now, I got to say Weigel looks a bit better. Looks like Lidskin's breathing a little bit heavier, but
Joyce has closed up another yard, though.
And he looks good.
Yes, he does.
It is Brown that's beginning to fall back as Stevenson's Pat Joyce has come right back and made it a 3-man race. Right now we're at 13:25. it's going to become a sprinter's race in conditions that are for anything but sprinting.
You bet. I imagine they're going to try to find the best path to the finish line of the firmest ground.
A little over a quarter mile to go. It is Pat Joyce of Stevenson, Scott Lidskin of Glenbrook South. Weigel has fallen back in the third. Chris Brown back in the fourth. It is Lidskin and Joyce. Lidskin has beaten Joyce this year. That was in the sectional. Joyce winning the Buffalo Grove Regional, also won the Lake County meet, as we said, won the white division of the Niles West Invitational with the fastest time overall, was also the winner at Palatine and Wakanda. We're at 14:19, and it is Pat Joyce of Stevenson pulling
He's
away.
running a great race under these conditions, and you notice his form, he just looks like a machine, so efficient.
Here they come, just a few yards left, and it is Pat Joyce of Stevenson. Prairie View Stevenson's Pat Joyce comes across. We're at 14:40. And here comes Scott Lidskin of Glenbrook South, 14:46. Chris Brown of Libertyville, and a struggling finish for John Weigel of Metamora.
Here comes the team race.
One St. Charles finisher is in.
One from York.
Here comes number two man for St. Charles.
Number 2 and 3 for York.
Mike Ukansky coming in, 2 and 3 for York. Here comes 4 for York and 5 for York. They may have done it, Lee.
I believe they have.
Here comes their 5th finisher, number 84 for York, and that is Jason Wagner. They might have done it again, but it's going to be close.
And you see the top 5 finishers in boys AA, with Augustin Coronado, the senior from Morton, finishing in 5th place. And then in 4th place, dropping down from 3rd a year ago, Metamora senior John Weigel. Chris Brown of Libertyville, the junior, finished in 3rd place. Scott Lidskin finished in 2nd, improving from 11th last year. And the winner, a junior from Stevenson of Prairie View, Pat Joyce.
It was basically my mental attitude, and I pulled it from inside. And I said, I want to be state champion. I want to be state champion. And I pulled up on the side of him, and I said, here we go. This is where the race is going to be decided. And I knew this was a race where the race was going to be decided last night. And I basically focused my race on that. It went perfectly to plan. What my coach and I and my dad talked about last night, our strategy, it went perfectly. Whatever we said that I was going to do, I did it exactly how out in the course, and it worked.
In the team race, here are the top 5 finishers, with Moline finishing in 5th with 214 points. St. Charles finished in 4th, 191. Winning the trophies this year, finishing in 3rd, Bennett Academy. The Red Wings shocking the experts, finishing 3rd with 186 points. Another 2nd place finish for Schaumburg Saxons. Both boys and girls teams finished in 2nd this year. Schaumburg with 161 points. And Elmhurst York winning for the 3rd consecutive year. 30 years of state meet competition for Joe Newton. 26 times they finished in the top 3, and we talked with the one and only head coach, Joe Newton.
Tradition can be a lot of pressure, but can also be a big motivator. What was it for your team? Was it a little bit of both for your team this year?
Absolutely. That tradition is a marvelous thing. That's our York mistake. It's that 6th man in basketball. We tell our guys that. We have never, ever beaten ourselves in the state meet. Somebody beats us, the race was too short, or they were better. Our guys have never run poorly in the state meet, Tom, and they know that. And the alumni remind them of that now it's your turn. And it gives them a thing of pride and honor, and they're running for more than just themselves, and it makes it easier.
And, Coach, some people might ask, 29, 30 years now, 30 state meets. Will this be the last, or will Joe Newton keep on coming back year after year?
Well, as long as I have my health, Tom, I'm having too much fun to. What else could I do? I don't fish and I don't hunt. So I'll come back as long as the good Lord allows me. This is a great, great thing, and this was, I think, Tom, the sweetest of all the victories. This is number 16, and these guys were most deserving. The rags to riches story.
And so wraps up another great, outstanding day of competition here at Detweiler Park for the Illinois High School Cross Country Championships.
Other states may produce more talent, but I think this is a spectator sport, and the tradition that goes on here with the 4 races is just unprecedented.
We've had 4 great races today, maybe the 4 best we've seen in the last 3 years, and I wouldn't miss it.
And despite the conditions, another great job by the folks here at Peoria. Bill Sissel, Dick Green of Peoria Central High School, the great job they have done, and it's just been another successful year of cross-country here in Illinois. League, another great job today as we've gotten very comfortable at top to back of that truck.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be asked to do it, and I certainly enjoy it.
I think I'm going to go see if I can find any more life in my toes. Today's meet was produced and directed by Bob Albrecht. The coordinating producer is Greg Bowman. Our executive producer is John Toohey. Once again, for Lee Hallberg, I'm Tom Stocker. Thanks for being with us. The proceeding has been an exclusive presentation of Sports Channel.